Hey, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Welcome to 7th Avenue Baptist Church, the adult Sunday school class. We're studying in the book of Luke. I said last week we're moving at the speed of glacier, and that's kind of about it. We're going to finish up chapter 17 today. Chapter 17 was 3 parts, 4 duties of a Christian. We went through those. This was Jesus talking to the disciples, and everybody said, "Ooh, wow, these are hard." Then the next part, there was the cleansing of the 10 lepers, and you remember the story, 1 out of the 10 returned after Jesus healed them. We started last week talking about the coming of the kingdom, and like several other chapters, the Pharisees have interrupted Jesus' teaching, and so he has to interrupt answering their question. And there was 2 parts to it. It's chapter 17 verses 20 and 21 we did last week. If you want to know about the kingdom, get to know the king. And then Jesus finishes by talking about the 7 characteristics of the second coming of Christ. And that's what we're going to do today, those 7 characteristics. It's not one of my favorite things to do, to go through a list with y'all. You know, we go 1, 2, 3, down through 7. And, you know, along about 3 or 4, your eyes start rolling in the back of your heads. And, you know, some of you start nodding, and I hear a couple of you, gently snoring. Okay. But that's what we got today. We got a list here. Remember what the study of last times was called? What was the $5 word for it? Anytime it says the study of, it always ends in what? Ology. And the study of last or finish or the end times is eschatos. So eschatos and ology, eschatology is the study of the last time. So that's the $5 word. You'll never use it during the week, but that's what it is when you study the last time. Huh? Eschatology. It is.
No, what's that? That's
Archaeology.
yeah, dig up dinosaur bones. Yeah.
But yeah, that's the way the Greek works. If you in school you studied bios, this is the life, and so when this high school you took biology. Psyche is the mind, so if you study the mind, it's psychology. Yeah, so it's, some of y'all got moneyology, so it's
Or the ideology.
ideology, the study of idiots, I guess. Now, ichthyology, ich is fish, so that's, never mind, I like to go fishing. All right, we're studying last times. And it's really important to understand that we don't confuse the 2 appearances on earth of Jesus. The first time Jesus came, there was a kingdom established, but it was a spiritual kingdom. That was not what the Jews of the day were looking for, however. They weren't that interested in that spiritual kingdom. They were expecting what? A physical kingdom. And when Jesus comes again, the second coming, that's when the physical kingdom is established. So it's important to keep those separate in your mind, physical and the spiritual. We know, I'm going to hit this later in a slide, but admission to the physical kingdom, you need a ticket. The ticket is you're admitted into the spiritual kingdom first. So who goes to the physical kingdom? Those already in the spiritual. Now, what we're not going to talk about is the chronology. We'll get that like in chapter 21. So we're not going to burn the bridge yet on that one. And Brother Ed gave us a great Sunday night Revelation study, and it gave us this chronology, chapters 1 and 3 from the book of Revelation. How do you not say that book? How do people say it wrong, Bobby, all the time?
They'll say Revelations.
Yeah, they'll put an S on the end of it, like it's more than one revelation. It's not. It was just one revelation. And so the first 3 chapters, we had the church on earth. That's what Brother Ed took us through. Chapter 4 and 5, you had the church in heaven. What happens? How does the church get from one to the other? That rapture. Yeah, the church was taken away. So it's kind of important to note that when we get into some of these studies about Jesus setting up the physical kingdom, where's the church during this time? Yeah, it's in heaven. And we get the 7 judgments, and that's where everybody gets bogged down in the book of Revelation, because you have the 7 seals, and then the 7 trumpets, and then the 7 bowls. And you have all of that in the time of tribulations, and you get confused easily in that.
Best way to do this, though, just be prepared so you don't go through that.
Good point. Make yourself a part of that rapture, and you won't have to miss it. Or, excuse me, and you won't have to be part of it, you will miss it. Chapters 19 and 20, we have the second coming. That's when Jesus does come back again. And that's when that physical kingdom on earth will be created. And then chapters 21 and 22, you get the new heaven, the new earth, eternity begins. So that was it in a nutshell. So, are there signs to be watching for? Are there characteristics? Are there traits to be looking for in society for the physical coming of Jesus? And the answer is yeah, there's things we can be watching for. And that's what we're going to study today, right here in chapter 17 of Luke. Pharisees have asked Jesus, well, what about this kingdom? He says, here's what you watch for. And this is the 7th. Kingdom will be desired, it'll be visible, be delayed, unexpected, it'll be revealing, it'll be divisive, and it'll be deadly. That's the answer that Jesus gives, and it takes the rest of the chapter for Jesus to give this answer to the Pharisees. And we'll work our way through them. Again, there's not any concept up there that's hard. Let's just look at the context that it's in. So the first one, it will be desired. I put in the top right which one of the 7 we're talking about each time. And he said unto the disciples, the days will come when ye shall, and there's that first verb, you shall desire to see one of the days of the Son of Man, and you shall not see it. So there's people that's going to want it to happen. And from the Old Testament, there's a reference to this. Daniel 7 and 13. And I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man. Oh, who's he seeing in the vision there? Who's the Son of Man? Jesus. That's right. Came with the clouds of heaven. Oh man, what's that mean? Clouds of heaven.
That's the way he's going to come back.
That's how he's-
We've seen him go.
Thank you. Yeah. When Jesus ascended, when there was the ascension, when Jesus left earth bodily, how did he go? Up in the clouds. Yeah, and I can show you 2 places in the New Testament where does it say, how does he come back? With the clouds, same way. So I saw the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven and came to the Ancient of Days. That's God. And they brought him near before him. And so we're thinking about a physical kingdom. Look at verse 14. And there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all people, nations, and language should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed. If you were a first century Pharisee and you were reading Daniel, what are you looking forward to? This physical kingdom, right? They just missed the verses about, there's a spiritual aspect to it also. And from the New Testament. Remember in Revelation, you have the martyrs, and they're saying, and they cried out with a loud voice, saying, "How long, O Lord, holy and true, dost thou not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell on the earth?" There's those in heaven that are like, I'm desiring this kingdom. I'm ready for this judgment to start happening. I'm ready to move on to the next steps. You ever get that way with a job? I'm ready to move on. Okay. Well, you kind of get to. You finish a job and go on to the next one all the time, don't you, with construction? Well, here we've got the martyrs singing, "How long? When's this going to happen?" And what's Jesus saying here, in the future, there's going to be people that, I'm ready for Jesus to come. I'm ready. Even though, if I've read the book of Revelation, when Jesus comes, man, there's a lot of bad stuff that happens. Because when he...
New favorite song is Come Jesus Come.
Come Jesus Come.
Oh, it's good.
Is a good one. Why would a born-again Christian be anxious for Jesus to come if I know that there's all this bad stuff going to happen? But we ain't part of it, are we? That's correct. We just saw in that timeline, we're gone. I don't know how the amillennials or the post-millennials can make that argument. So there's going to be people wanting Jesus to come. It'll be desired. Verse 23, it's going to be visible. "And they shall say to you, see over here, see over there, well, see here, see there. Go not after them, nor follow them." This verse is a bit of a warning. Satan knows how to take advantage of people's longing for his return. There'll be many who claim to be the Messiah before Jesus really does return. Do not follow that.
We don't know where it seems in our life.
We have. And that's not just in the Jewish world. It's also a lot of Christian false messiahs. I almost went down too deep of a rabbit hole on this false messiah while studying this week. And I run across this guy, Dr. Charles Feinberg. He's trained as a rabbi and then became a Christian. And in his studies while he was a rabbi, he says, in the course of Israel's history since the time of Jesus, 64 different individuals have appeared claiming to be the Messiah. So that's just about every generation, isn't it? So 64 into 2,000 years. You know, at least every other generation, there's somebody that gets attention for, this guy's it. And I actually do remember one when he was from Brooklyn. I forgot his name. It was a Jewish name like Sheenberg or something. And we did the Brooklyn half marathon and we went through his neighborhood. That's why I remember it. And he was the next one in the list that claimed to be the Messiah there. And I just can't imagine the Messiah being from Brooklyn, but that's, he had a large following in the Jews, in the Jewish faith. So like I said, I did a rabbit hole on this one, and I did got a list of people claiming to be the Messiah. And when I run into that too, this was on Google, here's the Jewish people that have claimed to be the Messiah. Here's the Christian people that have claimed to be the Messiah. Here's the Muslim people that have claimed to be the Messiah. Here's the, other and assorted people that have claimed to be the Messiah. Oh, it's a horrible list. Others that were from our generation what's the guy that took everybody to Guyana? And they did suicide, they drank the Kool-Aid guy.
Jim Jones.
Jim Jones, thank you, yeah. He was one, huh? Jonestown,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
already set up, it said that that's what they named it.
yeah.
Koresh,
David Koresh was on the list,
yeah,
out of Waco, Texas.
like old Texas.
Another boy out of Florida one time too. I don't know his name was.
There was, the Moonies, the Korean,
I think that speaks to the fact of like how willing we are to say that the Lord's coming back.
yeah,
People are willing to jump on a train and just say, I hope it is.
you're right.
But that's where you're knowing your Bible, because if you know your Bible, it doesn't say he's gonna be here on earth. He says he's coming in the air and we're gonna meet him.
That's-
That's where you have to know, so
Mm-hmm.
you're not tossed to and fro.
Yep, good point, great point. And I used the word at the last sentence, I said, all false, usually a cult of some type. It usually, what was that, Haley's Comic Cult too? That was like every other generation, that one
Heaven's
shows
Hand
up.
was one of them. Not this one, but it was called Heaven's Hand or Heaven's something.
It was Heaven
Heaven's
something,
Gate,
Heaven's Gate,
Hand. Yeah.
that's what it was.
What happened to the Moonies? When I was a teenager, they'd be on every corner. The girls would sell it flyers on Friday afternoon.
Old man Moon died,
That's when it was.
when, that's the way cults go. Yeah, back before there was a TSA, they were in airports like crazy. All right, the point is, and I think y'all just summed it up, when Jesus returns, he will be seen, he'll be recognized for who and what he is. It's not gonna be you gotta have this special knowledge. You have to understand this other book. It's not that. It's universal. He's gonna be recognized for who and what he is. This over there knowledge and, you gotta be over here with this group, that's not gonna happen. One story will make this verse make sense. For as the lightning that lighteneth out of the one part under heaven shineth under the other part under heaven, so shall the Son of Man be in his day. Riding along in the car with Janice, big lightning. I said, wow, did you see that? She said, how could I not? That's the way the return of Jesus is. It's going to be like that lightning. How can you not see it?
Says every eye will see him.
Every eye, yes. So, lightning across the sky, it's a Hebrew idiom, simply refers, it means everybody's going to see it.
The blind people want to receive their sight.
They will see it. Everybody's going to see it at the same time. You can see it, Revelation 1, 7 and 8. Behold, he's coming with clouds. There we hit that verse again. And every eye will see him. Even they who pierced him. That's referring to who? And all the tribes of the earth. How's that referring?
Jews.
No, all tribes.
So that's going to be Benjamin, Dan.
Not just the Jews, but all nations. All nations. Genea, there's the Greek word for all the nations. I'm the Alpha, the Omega, the beginning and the end. His return is going to be visible. His return's also going to be delayed. Keep in mind when he's telling this. Has he been to the cross yet?
He has.
Not yet. Not in this verse.
Not in that verse, but he has on the crucifixion.
But not physically at this time. He's still speaking, he's teaching. And he says he first must suffer many things and be rejected, but first. So this is prior to, prerequisite, or preceding his second coming. Something's got to happen before. He's going to have to, this generation, there's the word, it's talking about the Jews that are there. He has to suffer. So at the time he's speaking, he's still alive. Crucifixion is in the near future. We're down to the final weeks of Jesus' life in terms of chronology. Said he's got to suffer and he has to be rejected by this generation, by this nation. Was he rejected? You bet he was. Every time that they had a choice to accept or reject Jesus, the choice was to reject, and to reject with emphasis. That way they could kill him. This has and is continuing to happen. This is not a future event today. It was when Jesus spoke it, but it's not today. The kingdom is delayed by rejection. Do nations reject Jesus today?
Sure.
They sure do. By the laws we create, by the culture we create.
Taking the Bible out of schools.
That's the culture we create. You're exactly right.
The decisions we make,
The decisions we make. That's correct.
people we elect.
The people we elect and the decisions they make. Mm-hmm.
He's probably more projected now than he was then.
I think we got people would put him on the cross again today. This is delayed. He's got to be rejected. It'll be unexpected. How's this going to be unexpected? We're all talking about it.
You don't know what day it is.
We don't. He says, as it was in the day of, and who is that? N-O-E.
Noah.
That is Noah. Ain't it funny how they spell it? As it was in the day of Noah, so shall it be in the days of the Son of Man. And how was it in the days of Noah? It says here, they did eat, they drank, they married wives, they were given in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and the flood came and destroyed them all. So how expected was that flood?
Unexpected, they knew.
Unexpected.
They made fun of Noah for building a boat.
They did. Well, he preached for 120 years that there's going to be something happen,
Flood was coming.
that the flood was coming, that there's a judgment coming. And he had this big old object lesson that he built on. So that when everybody saw it, immediately you got a conversation about it. Oh yeah, that's what we're supposed to avoid judgment with. And this is an old story. It's in Genesis 4, 5, and 6. And everybody knows the story. Sin was so prevalent that God's judgment, you keep hearing that word this morning? God's judgment was to destroy all of civilization. And people weren't expecting it. It was unexpected. And the people didn't believe it until it was too late.
I mean, if somebody did that today in the middle of Kansas, started building a boat, we wouldn't believe it either.
No.
I mean, even as us as Christians probably wouldn't even believe it.
But now wait a
It
minute.
was crazy, just like they thought Noah was.
But every Sunday morning, don't we have preachers preaching salvation and to miss God's judgment? Same thing as Noah's message. And so in the coming time period called the tribulation, it's going to be life as normal. Just like in Noah's day, people are eating and drinking and getting married and planting crops, and it's just gonna be a normal day.
It took me about 4 readings of the whole Bible before I realized how fast that the years of man went from 970 down to where it is today.
Yeah.
I mean, it fell fast back when the days got down, like Moses only lived like 120.
Yeah.
And I was listening to this guy this week on TV. He says by 2050, the average lifespan of man is going to be 100 years old. They expect it to start going back the other way.
Oh, man. Well, put my name on the list, okay? It'll be unexpected. People didn't expect the flood. Well, wait a minute. Let's not just use Noah. We got this Jewish audience. They're everyone gonna understand Noah. Well, they're everyone gonna understand the next example. Likewise, also, as it was in the days of Lot. Again, they did eat, they drank, they bought, they sold, they planted, they builded. Life just went on. But the same day that Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and brimstone from heaven and destroyed them all. Why? Why? Why was God's judgment on this place?
Because of sin.
They were wicked. They were sin. That's correct. God's judgment on wickedness. And the people weren't expecting it. Well, what was Lot? He was preaching, hey, there's a judgment coming.
He was Abraham's nephew.
He was Abraham's nephew. Yes, he was.
And he was starting to get comfortable there. That
Oh, the sermon I've never heard is Lot's wife. She was last in the group, so she was the last to leave. Then she turned around. Yeah. Oh, the sermon I've never heard, Brother Jimmy. I told another pastor friend this week, next Mother's Day,
Yeah.
I dare you to preach on Zebedee's wife.
Zebedee's wife.
Yeah, and James and John's mother. Preach on Mrs. Zebedee.
wanted her kids to be on the right.
Yeah, yeah. You know, we talk about good moms all the time. Let's talk about Mrs. Zebedee. I dare you. All right. Maybe Father's Day's coming up. You talk about Zebedee. I don't know. If I was Zebedee, I think I'd live on the boat rather than have to live with her. Anyway, I digress.
She said she'd put you on board.
She'd put me on the boat. This is in Genesis 19. Everybody knows the story. The cities were destroyed. That's what you just said. As God's judgment for sin. And same thing with Noah. The people weren't expecting. They would have went out of town with Lot. And that's the lesson Jesus is pointing out. Life went on. People were oblivious to the fact that, one, they were wrong, and two, there's a judgment for being wrong. That sounds like today, don't it? They don't know they're wrong, and there's a judgment for that wrongness. Jesus didn't say all would be good in the world, or that there would be no crisis. Conditions before the flood, conditions before Sodom and Gomorrah were terrible. But the wickedness was accepted by the people as normal and routine. You get a whole sermon out of that gray box, couldn't you?
That's just like when Jonah was told to go to Nineveh.
You're exactly right.
Same reason, but the people there repented.
But they listened. Yeah,
He didn't want to preach to them. They listened anyway.
yeah, they listened.
I was listening to a preacher this morning, he said there wasn't no way that God would be so cruel and such a mean person that he would make anybody burn forever in hell. He said, now, I can tell
That guy's just goofy, Bob.
Well, it's the Seventh-day Adventist preacher.
Okay.
Good morning.
It's gonna be unexpected. Life's gonna happen, just normal day to day, but when Jesus comes, it'll be unexpected. It'll be revealing. In that day, he which shall be upon the housetop and his stuff in the house, let him not come down to take it away. And he that's in the field, let him likewise not turn back. Remember Lot's wife? Okay, that's not the shortest verse in the Bible, but it's pretty short. Remember Lot's wife? The emphasis here is not on the details, but on the attitude. Leave everything in this world behind. Whoever shall seek to save his life shall lose it, and whoever shall lose his life shall preserve it. What a great teaching. Look how these verses tie together. Verse 31, you get a modern example to the crowd. You know, if you're on the porch, don't run back in the house. Now, don't go back and get nothing. You talk about the housetop. That was the porch for them. You know, that was their patio. So if you're on the porch, don't go back in the house. If you're in the field, don't go back to the barn. Don't go back to the house. Just go.
If Jesus was to come right now, they'd be 9 out of 10 would be caught trying to find their cell phone.
Yeah.
They ain't gonna let
Yeah.
it.
So he said, here's a modern example. Don't come off the porch. Don't come out of the field. You don't look back. Remember Lot's wife? That was the memory example. And then verse 33, what's the principle? The importance of
Be ready.
being ready. That's right. When the day of judgment comes, it'll be revealed. You'll know where people's hearts are. Like Bobby said, some of them will be looking for their cell phone. They want to video it or whatever. You'll know where people's hearts are. So the condition of people's hearts will be revealed. Those that are prepared for judgment and those that just look like it. Uh-oh. This opened up a can of worms years ago. Will there be church in the tribulation time?
Tribulation time? Oh, there might be church in tribulation time, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I figured it will be tribulation time.
It,
That's when the two witnesses are gonna be
Yeah.
preached
yeah.
in sackcloth.
But that means that after the rapture, churches still are meeting, and I imagine there's a lot of
Well,
churches.
that means everybody you be preaching to be lost.
Yeah,
Wouldn't be no question.
that's exactly right. That ought to make it easy.
It would make it, narrow it down a little, and
I'd like to go down that rabbit hole with you a little farther, but let's not. The second coming will be divisive. What's that word mean?
dividing people.
It'll divide people up, that's right. I tell you, in that night, there should be 2 men in one bed, one will be taken, the other left. 2 women grinding together, the one shall be taken, the other left. 2 men shall be in the field, the one taken, the other left. What gets repeated over in those 3 verses? Yeah, one's taken and the other's left. So the principle here that there's a division of people. There's going to be a group that enters judgment. That's bad. You don't want to be that group. And then there's a group that enters the kingdom. That's the one we want. Now, which group is which? Another rabbit hole.
Left, be one that's unsaved.
Yeah. That's my thoughts too. Personally, I think the one taken is taken away into judgment.
Take it into judgment.
Yeah. And the one left is the one that's escaped judgment. And the initial reaction of everyone just like what Jim said. Wait a minute, rapture was you were taken away, so why? And the reason I think that, the language used, the same verb gets used with the flood. The ones drowned were taken into judgment. The ones left were the ones saved.
The original translation is the ones left are alive.
The ones left are alive. Mhm. In Matthew 13, where you do the tares and the wheat parable, what gets taken away is the weed, the tares, and they get burned up. That's their judgment. And what gets left behind is the wheat.
So,
So the same verb gets used.
That's what that preacher used that illustration this morning about that. He said that shaft is burned up.
Yeah.
It's gone. It ain't no more torment.
And the sermon that should have a title, Are You Barned or Are You Burned? Are you kept or you,
So, are you left, the ones left, that's sort of, that's it.
it's opposite, isn't it?
Well, I mean, that heaven on earth stuff, I mean, we're left here.
Okay, but yeah, that's back in the rapture time. We're on the, we're other side of that.
We raptured out.
We're other side of that.
Oh, okay.
But
We
that's,
gotta get over to Revelation 20 before we come back. 21.
Well, before we come back, then we had to be taken away then, didn't we?
Yeah.
yeah, that's what doesn't make sense.
That's what I'm saying, I had to be taken somewhere for them to come back.
Days we're getting raptured up, and it says he's coming to rule on earth. So we're going up there, we're passing in the sky, he's coming down here.
so with the judgment, we're taken away into judgment or we are left behind as escaping judgment. And that is just opposite of the terminology that's used with the rapture, where we're taken away to avoid the tribulation.
All of these examples in the Bible, in the days of Noah, all the way up through every one of them, the righteous are left behind.
Righteous are left behind,
Always taken away.
and that's correct. That's correct. The example different is that rapture.
Elijah is the only one who was ever taken away.
And
He was righteous.
I didn't think of him.
Say taken away for the rapture, it says caught up,
Caught up.
so you have a different verb, so it's a different way of looking at it.
Thank you. Academic argument also, y'all. Does it change the meaning any? The principle here? No, it doesn't.
Be ready.
Yeah, be ready.
No, but I'd like to know what side of the fence I'm on. You know what I mean? I don't know if I'm gonna be left or north or.
You know,
I do know, but I mean, there's two men, that's just sort of different, I never really.
okay,
I have a question.
yeah.
It's a few slides back, but I've been thinking about it. Why was Noah spelled like that?
Don't know.
H was not prevalent in the English language when that Bible was written. Now, Heaven has H in it a lot, but H was like getting to be inserted into the alphabet, so
I'm guessing what he said when,
I had to look it up.
when,
I appreciate that, because it's been killing me for 20 minutes.
when the translation was in 1611, the English was called Middle English, not Modern English. So there are things like there's no S. You know, and within a word, it starts with an F. They use the F for the letter. There's some weird things that happen. Probably that just carried over from the Middle English. That's my guess. And that's what you said you looked
The
at.
H falls in that window when that would happen.
Okay. All right, I gotta go. Other weird things.
I just needed some.
That's okay.
I knew it was somebody from the mountain that goes.
In verse 34, the word men, where it says there shall be two men in one bed, the word men is not used in the Greek, the word's duo. It just says there's two in a bed. So, there's people that want to make hay out of that. Verse 36 often has brackets around it. If you've got a King James Version, and they say, oh, that wasn't in the oldest Greek manuscripts, but it fits, so big deal. And the second coming will happen at the same time for all the earth. People point out, well, two in bed, that's at night, two in grinding, that's at the daytime. So, well, we know that part of the earth is dark, part of the earth is light at the same time. So, no big deal there. But don't lose sight of the principle. There's a division of those entering judgment and those entering the kingdom. The rest of what we just talked about is noise. The fact that some go, some don't, that's it. Last point, it'll be deadly. And they answered and said unto him, where? They didn't ask when, and they said, nobody knows, right? So where? And he said unto them, wherever the body is, there will the eagles be gathered together. If you have anything besides King James that don't say eagles, it says what? Vultures, which are buzzards. Yeah. So when, not when, but where? And Jesus didn't tell them when. He really don't tell them where. He just says, well, wherever you see the buzzards circling, that's where you'll find something dead. So,
Well, the eagle is a scout,
it is. But, you know, the Roman legion, they used the eagle, remember? You know, so, yeah, eagle had a different meaning. So, Jesus said, if you want to know where the bodies are, look, see where the buzzards are circling. So what this teaches, kind of macabre, with the second coming of Jesus, there's going to be death. Lots of death is going to be involved with judgment. I mean, wasn't there a lot of death with Noah? A lot of death with Lot? There's going to be a lot of death with the second coming. All right, look what Jesus does. Let me wrap. Jesus wants to move this crowd from the mistaken idea that the second coming is just, oh, it's going to be wonderful. It's going to be all rainbows and roses and It's going to be a scary time. It's going to be a terrifying reality, especially for all of those that are taken away into judgment. And this ought to convince everybody. To Jimmy's point, man, everybody ought to get this. I don't want to go through these judgments. Yeah, who would? But the fact is, Noah preached until he got up on the boat. But how many went with him? None. They got the judgment. Just his family. All right, Lot, he preached until fire and brimstone started. How many joined him out of the town? None. Just his family.
Lost one of them on the way out.
And lost one of them on the way out. That's right. So, today the church is preaching every day. And it's going to be preaching until it leaves, just like Noah left, got on the boat, just like Lot left, went out of town. Church is going to leave the rapture. And that ain't going to stop people from being wicked.
That's the only reason Jesus ain't gonna come back, because he's trying to give us a.
You're right. That's what we talked about. The second coming of Christ to earth is not going to be a surprise. It will be a time of judgment, not hoop-de-doo. Man, I went over. I'm 5 minutes over. That's a record for over, y'all. I apologize for that. Next week, parable about prayer. Let's do amen to the end. Thank you, Lord, for the day, all the blessings. Forgive us where we fall short. Bless our pastor, Lord. Give him ease of deliverance, us receptive hearts to your word. If someone needs salvation, Lord God, we pray they would come to that saving knowledge. Let today be the day. Forgive us. Bless us. All God's people said, amen. Thank you all. Apologize.